If you use the 2-minute rule, changing habits becomes easy. I have a lazy, chubby kid who I just cannot convince to exercise. So every day when I get home from work, I don't say, "Let's go exercise." I say, "Come walk around the block with me. Tell me how your day went." And when we finish that first loop and we're about to go back inside, almost every time he says, "Wait, let's do one more." And we end up walking for 20 or 30 minutes. Because once his body's moving, his mind's engaged, and he's got his sneakers on. The natural thing is to want to keep walking. By inertia, a body in motion tends to stay in motion, and a chubby guy on the couch tends to stay on the couch. For people who understand the 2-minute rule, it's super easy to build new habits. For example, never aim to read a book a month. That's a dumb idea. You're not going to do it. What you do is say to the lazy, chubby kid, "Let's read 2 pages together." He's not really in the mood, but hey, 2 minutes? That's doable. And often, once you're 2 pages in, you want to know what happens next, and then what happens after that. You get hooked and end up reading for 20 minutes. And by the way, the lazy, chubby kid is me. I'm naturally lazy, but I'm smart. I use the 2-minute rule for everything. The 2-minute rule is based on this principle. Motivation often shows up after you take action. Act first to feel motivated instead of waiting to feel motivated to act. But people get it all wrong. They want to become runners and say, "I'm going to run 30 minutes a day." Then they come home tired from a rough day at work and think, "Ugh, I have to run 30 minutes. And their body's like, "Yeah, right," and drags them to the fridge for ice cream, and then they end up watching TV. Total beginners. If you want someone who's naturally lazy and chubby to work out, you don't say, "Let's go run 30 minutes, dummy." You say, "Let's walk around the block." And once they've done that, maybe they'll feel like continuing. If you want someone who never reads to start reading, don't say, "Read a book." Say, "Let's read 2 pages." And most likely 2 pages in, they'll want to keep going. The 2-minute rule is, take the big habit you want to build and break it in 2. Its tiniest version, something you can do in 2 minutes, and everything else. And it works because doing something for 2 minutes is easy, so you're not lazy about it. You just do it. And once you've started, inertia kicks in and you often want to keep going. Because a body in motion tends to stay in motion. Want this lazy guy to wash that pile of dishes? Don't be dumb. Don't say, "Wash all those dishes." Say, "Put on a song you love and wash dishes for just 2 minutes." Once he gets into a rhythm, dancing a little while scrubbing, it's way more likely he'll finish them all. Now, the 2-minute rule doesn't work for most people because there's one thing they mess up. And the author of Atomic Habits warns you about this in the book. The 2-minute rule is a contract, and the first thing people do is go break that contract. The deal is, if after 2 minutes you don't want to keep going, if the lazy voice in your head says, "I want to go inside now," then you go inside. Because you already completed your habit. You fulfilled the 2-minute rule. What most people do instead is force themselves to keep going, and then they break the contract. So the next day, when they say just one loop, they don't believe themselves, because they already know they're not going to stick to the 2-minute rule. The author of Atomic Habits actually recommends that for the first 2 weeks, you only do the 2 minutes. Just one loop around the block. So you learn to respect the contract. The magic of the 2-minute rule is that most of the time, you'll want to keep going. But on the days you don't want to, don't. That's the trick. But almost nobody gets it. Now, Atomic Habits is not a cheap book. But man, I wish I'd read it before turning 30, because it's full of strategies like the 2-minute rule that show you how, by changing your habits, you can quickly get in shape, straighten out your finances, start going to bed and waking up early. Change just a few key habits and you can change your life. It's a pricey book. But in the first video on my profile, I show you how to download it for free. Give it at least 2 minutes a day, and you'll see how fast you finish it. Good luck.